Looking back, the Xbox 360 was a brilliant console. It took many of the ideas Microsoft brought to the OG Xbox and turned them up to 10. Xbox Live was an add-on for the OG Xbox, came built in as standard into the Xbox 360's kernel. Xbox Live Arcade changed the way we purchase games, offering smaller bite-sized arcade experiences for cheap. And all Xbox 360 games were standard in widescreen with HD graphics. Xbox Achievements offered virtual rewards for playing games, bringing new life to games and expanding replayability. If you owned an Xbox 360 between 2005 and 2008, you may remember this. The original Xbox dashboard, nicknamed the Blades Dash, was excellent. It was simple, clean, provided an excellent user experience, and most of all, it was fast. It simply organized each of the main features of the console into separate sections, and the term blades comes from the sections themselves. Aesthetically, the concave blades follow the same design as an original Xbox 360 Fat model in a vertical orientation. The Blades Dash was designed by two companies. Aqua from San Francisco, which had previously worked with Microsoft for 8 years before the Blades Dash, designed the Xbox 360's dashboard and guide, and they would test different prototypes with focus groups in 5 countries. The second company, Audio Brain, would be responsible for the sounds, including the Xbox 360's sound logo and all interface sounds in the Blades dashboard itself. But in 2008, Microsoft would release a complete upgrade. The Blades dashboard would be replaced with the NXE, or New Xbox Experience, which provided a complete graphical overhaul. Since then, the Xbox 360 has undergone numerous dashboard updates, with the Metro-style dash being the Xbox 360's final form. And this was the dashboard that would launch into the beginning of the Xbox One era. But after many years of iterations of Xbox 360 dashboards, many people missed the Blades Dash. It was simple, clean, fast and effective. Later dashboards somehow became more sluggish, slower, containing advertising, particularly annoying if you're a paid-up Xbox Live Gold member. There was more focus on streaming apps, multimedia, movies and music. If you just wanted to play games, this was particularly frustrating, as you would have to navigate the dashboard in order to get to the Games tab. And sadly, it's not possible to just go back to the Blades Dash. Thanks to eFuses found in the Xbox 360's processor, after each firmware update, it's simply not possible to go back to an earlier firmware. So the only real way to experience the Blades Dash is to find an Xbox 360 out in the wild that hasn't been updated since 2008. So what you're looking at here is my one and only Xbox 360 stress test kit that has an early version of the kernel. As you can see, it's running 6723. Now, this is a firmware or a flash that does have the Blades dashboard. Now, this particular kit is a stress test kit, which is what developers and QA would use in studios to basically just stress test the games and make sure that they would pass certain requirements during the certification process for the game to ultimately get certified and then go gold and then be sold in stores. And this particular one here is one that I've had for many, many years, and I've never touched it. And as you can see, it's basically got nothing on there other than the Xbox 360 dashboard. Now, let's go ahead and jump in, and you can see that we have the Blades dashboard in its absolute glory. Now, I refuse to update this particular system because, as mentioned, with the eFuse technology in place, it means that you can never go back. So I've kept this as stock as possible, but what I'm going to do is connect up a 60 gigabyte hard drive and show you kind of the user experience that you were getting back in 2006, 2007, when the Blades dashboard was all the rage. Now, when you log into the system for the first time, it'll put you on this particular page, the Xbox Live page, and basically it's really telling you get connected to Xbox Live if you're not, because there's so many really cool things you can do. Now, unfortunately, I can't connect to Xbox Live on this system for two reasons. One, it's a stress test kit and the connection to PartnerNet no longer exists, but also there's no way that you can actually connect to Xbox Live with a Blades dashboard anyway, because the first thing it's going to prompt you to do is upgrade the device, obviously, to the latest revision of the firmware, and hence just completely removing it. So unfortunately, I can't show you what the Xbox Live connectivity would look like, but there was an interesting video that came out during the launch of the Xbox 360 that kind of showed you how to use the dashboard. And you could tell that Microsoft really invested a lot of money making sure that the user experience of the Blades Dash was of a really high level. But going back to the dashboard here, as you can see, we've got my profile, I'm logged in, and if you click on that, you can basically get information on what's going on. So you can see that I'm currently in the Xbox 360 dashboard. I can view the games that I've currently played. I've got a couple of homebrew things here. And you can kind of get a look at your achievements very quickly and then click into one of the games and then get your list of achievements. Now, one thing that you'll notice with the Blades dashboard is there is no concept of avatars. Avatars came later on in the Xbox 360's life cycle, but the early Blade Dash had no concept of avatars at all. Now, what you could also do on this screen is send messages to friends, basically add friends to your Xbox Live, talk to them, get a party chat going on. And from here, you could also open the tray, which would actually open the disk tray for you, put a game in, and then reclose the tray, and that would read the contents of the disk. And then you could play your games if there was a disk inserted into your Xbox's DVD drive. Now, moving over to the Games tab, this is pretty much where all your games are basically located. All the games that you had downloaded onto your Xbox system that you had downloaded from Xbox Live Arcade would be available in your games library. Now, you can see here, this is what the games library list would look like. I have 6 games on my console, and some of these are actually homebrew things that were around back in the day, but if we use the shoulder buttons, we can then filter on the Xbox Live Arcade games. We have 2 on here, Afterburner Climax and Project Bean. And demos would be if I downloaded demos from Xbox Live, they would be available here. Recently downloaded, recently played. But as you can see, I can jump into a game here, and it's just a really nice look at everything. Everything looks just so clean and really, really tidy, and that's one thing that makes the Blades Dash so beloved. You know, it's something that is just so easy to navigate. It's very clean, it's simple, and it just gets the job done. And it's very visually appealing as well. You can get your list of achievements there on the right-hand side without having to, you know, click on a couple of different menus to get there. It's basically just showing you the Chivos for this particular game. And you can, from here, you can play the game. You can look at the achievements in more details if you want to do that. You can look at the friends leaderboard. You can also do downloads if there's DLC. Tell a friend and delete the game. And this is pretty much the Games tab. And this is where a lot of the time you would spend on the Blades Dash would be in this particular tab. Now, moving over to the Media tab, Microsoft really invested time, effort, and money into ensuring the Xbox 360 was not only a amazing game system, but it also had really cool multimedia features. And one thing that I do appreciate is that games and Xbox Live take precedence in the order of the blades, and then media is, you know, second to last on the actual list. But it's not something that Microsoft, you know, didn't push. They certainly did push it in a pretty big way, and this is where it all kind of began. So from the Media tab, what you could do is you could access your music, and you could basically set up a playlist and play songs, and you could actually pick a song and play it. Now, what I'm going to do is play a song, but I'm going to superimpose it with my own music because I definitely don't want to get a copyright claim on this video. So now you can play your song, and you can set up a playlist and enjoy, you know, listening to your playlist on your Xbox 360. There was a really cool visualizer, as you can see here, that was developed by none other than Jeff Minter from Llamasoft. he was really big on these kind of virtual or visual light synthesizers at the time, and he had already built a couple of them for different products. So he was actually asked to build the visualization code on the Xbox 360's dashboard. And as you can see, there's some really cool effects that you can cycle through. And of course, you can go full screen and enjoy it that way. Now, one really cool thing about the music was you weren't just limited to listening to it on this particular screen. What you could actually do is, if you press the guide button, you could pull up your guide, which is basically showing you the currently logged in profile, and you can play music from here. So essentially you can listen to music as you're navigating through the dashboard, and that was a really cool feature that Xbox provided, and it was something that they had started out with on the original Xbox days. But you could actually basically load up your playlist and then listen to your songs from this particular view of the dashboard itself. You can just click on play all, and that would literally just cycle through all the music that you had on your Xbox's hard drive. So you could listen to music as you were navigating through the dashboard, or doing party chats or what have you. You could also look at pictures if they were stored on your Xbox's hard drive or on your USB device, and you could also play videos. And there was also a video store that had a pretty basic concept of videos that you could watch at the time. It wasn't really until much later when Microsoft really got behind the whole video idea, but this was definitely where it all started. Now, the last one here is Media Center. Now, this was interesting because there were versions of Windows that were known as Windows Media Center, and that would basically allow you to turn your PC into a Windows Media Center and then utilize the Xbox 360 console as kind of an extender for it. It was like a front end that you could use to watch recorded and live TV, and it would interface with the Xbox 360 and allow you to basically watch live TV, record live TV, watch on-demand movies, and listen to music and photos. Now, this was something that obviously was superseded by more modern techniques over time, but the Media Center idea was kind of cool. For a short moment, I had set up a Windows Media Center PC, and I was connecting my 360 up to it, and I gotta say, it was pretty cool. You could actually look at a local television guide, you could set up a DVR, and you could tell that Microsoft was always really interested in not just games for their consoles, but they wanted to do more. They wanted to get more into the video, the multimedia, and this was really the first kind of foray into it. Media Center was sunset and replaced, but it was kind of cool to have that functionality inside of the console. And if I recall at the time, PlayStation 3 didn't really have anything to compete with Media Center. It was quite awesome to have. And the last tab is the System tab, and this is where basically all the settings are for the console itself. And you can look at things like your display. You can obviously change your resolution. You can also set reference levels. You can select Dolby Digital. There was the concept of themes, and this is where themes had really started, but this was pretty basic if I recall at the time. Themes, once again, didn't really become a big deal on the Xbox 360 until the NXE dashboard had come along. But you could also set your clock and do things like set your locale. Just kind of normal stuff here, nothing really too interesting. System info, as you can see, it's a old kernel that we're running, 6723, and because we are running a stress test kit, we can shut down the dashboard and then go back to our dev kit launcher. That's not obviously something that you would see on a retail system. You had family settings. You obviously had your storage, where you could take a look at what was going on your hard drive, as well as any internal devices or any built-in memory units that were available. Your network settings were obviously for setting up your network. I'm not connected to anything at this time, but just really, really cool. I love the look of everything that's going on here. Now, Windows Connect Now was a feature that would allow you to connect a 360 wireless adapter and allow you to transfer, settings and files over from your computer to the Xbox 360. Once again, it was pretty early on, and it was, superseded by something more user-friendly and more, modern. You could connect up computers to the 360, as mentioned, setting him up as a Windows Media Center PC. If you had a Windows Media Center PC, you could basically connect to it from here and then start utilizing the Media Center options of the Xbox 360. Xbox Live Vision was a small webcam that was released that would allow you to play some games and take advantage of the Xbox Live Vision. It also meant that you could use things like Xbox Live Party Chats and, you know, talk to people utilizing the webcam. And I don't have an Xbox Live Vision camera, but from here, this is where you would configure it. This is obviously way before something like the Kinect, but you could see that Microsoft were looking into things like this, you know, pretty much from the beginning. And the initial setup would just basically, you know, would be like a first time setup. This was something that you would utilize if you would wipe your system clean and then sell it and give it to someone else, for example. But that is the Blades dashboard. Very clean, very elegant, very simple, but it worked, and it was really cool, you know, taking a look at this stuff again, because a lot of people have a lot of fond memories of the Blades dashboard, myself included. And look, it's obvious that Microsoft had to look towards something else. You know, this was not something that kind of stood the test of time with all the new features that they had incorporated into the Xbox 360 and beyond. But this is where it all began, and I do really miss this dashboard because this was all about games. And, you know, there was no advertising, there were no Play World of Warcraft ads that you would see come up anywhere, and it was just a really awesome user experience overall. I think for me, there's obviously a lot of nostalgia that is tied to this particular dashboard. It was a really good time in gaming, and the Blades dashboard just really amplified that amazing era of Xbox 360 gaming we had for such a long time. But I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. Is this just me reminiscing with my rose-tinted glasses on, thinking about a really good time in video games, or do you think that the Blades dashboard was kind of ended its life prematurely and Microsoft could have continued to utilize it in better ways and ultimately made it even bigger and better than what we saw in 2006, 2007, for example? But let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say, but we are going to leave it here for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.